Hi everybody, Martin here with more practical down-to-earth teachings on mediumship, without the fluff. So in today's video, I want to answer the question, can you develop mediumship online? I want to look at the differences between developing mediumship in person and developing mediumship online, and what are the pros and the cons of developing mediumship online. So if that sounds of interest to you, do stay with me. So can you develop mediumship online? And the simple answer is yes, you can. You can develop mediumship equally well online as you can in person, provided you're being taught by a good teacher. So if you're short on time, there's your answer. So let me give you some background to my online teaching. So I've been teaching online myself since 2009, which is 12 years. Now, online teaching has existed since at least 2008, so that's over 13 years. SNUI was a pioneer of online teaching, and they began doing online teaching in 2008. And I myself began teaching on SNUI in 2009, and I taught online on SNUI for over 5 years. When I started back in 2009, it was text only. We had to type everything in and receive typing back. It was very slow. And then we moved to being audio only. So we used headsets and it was spoken word, and that was a lot easier. And then we moved on to audio and video, which is similar to where we are now, which is much, much easier. And in the time that I've been doing online teaching, I know of many mediums who developed mediumship to a high standard solely by doing online classes, online circles, and getting online experience. So it can absolutely be done. Now for me, Zoom was a game changer. Zoom, I think, first started in about 2011, but it wasn't until about 2015-16 that it started to become popular. And Zoom, as many of you will know, has become a household name during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the benefit of Zoom is it's resulted in a lot more online classes. And prior to Zoom, we had to use online video conferencing software, which wasn't always easy to use, or we had to use things like Skype or Google Hangouts, which had limitations. The thing about Zoom is it is so easy to use, so easy to access for so many people. It also allows you to have breakout rooms where we can split a class up into pairs and have them go and work in breakout rooms or little groups and then all come back together at the end. And Zoom has now become the standard for online teaching. The vast majority of online teaching that I know of is done in Zoom. Some others is done in other platforms, but the vast majority is now done in Zoom. And then we had COVID-19, and COVID-19 has really accelerated online teaching. With the lockdown, the majority of teaching had to move online. Physical venues closed and the teaching had to go online. Venues like the Arthur Findlay College, they moved all their courses online, and many other teaching centres did the same. Most tutors are now offering online teaching as well as their in-person teaching. So there is a lot more opportunities now to do training with tutors around the world, to go to different venues like the Arthur Findlay College or the Journey Within, with all of that teaching now being online. And there's now more online opportunities than ever before. So now I want to talk about the difference between in-person teaching and online teaching. And I want to look at it from the point of view of mediumship and psychic work. So let us look at mediumship. With mediumship, mediumship works equally well either in person or online. When you're doing mediumship, you're linking to the spirit world. It's a mind-to-mind link. Geography doesn't matter. So it's as easy to do mediumship in person as it is online. And mediumship can be taught to the same standard both in person and online, provided you have a good tutor. So those are the benefits. But there are some differences, and let me get into those. When you're doing mediumship online, there's less power to work in. Often when you're doing mediumship in person, the other members of the group give you their power. The tutor in particular gives you his or her power. So there's a lot more power to work in when you're doing mediumship in person. When you're doing it online, you don't have people in the same room as you. And whilst there is some power to work in, it's not as much. There's a lot less power. So you have to rely upon your own power rather than relying upon the power of others. And that can make mediumship harder, especially in the earlier stages, especially for beginners and those starting out with mediumship. But actually, that is also a positive, because to do mediumship, you need to learn to build your own power and to become reliant upon your own power. So the fact that there's not that power coming from the tutor or from others, that is a benefit in that you have to build your own power and rely on it. Absolutely. If you're enjoying this video so far, do hit the like button, do leave me a comment, and do consider subscribing to the channel. So when it comes to psychic work does not work as well online as it does in person. When you're doing psychic work, you're working with the energy, you're working with the aura of the sitter. And it's better to have the sitter in front of you. It will work much better with a sitter present with you because you have that full connection with their energy, with their aura. But if you're working with a person online, you still have a connection with them psychically, but that psychic connection is much reduced because they're not in the same room with you. That psychic connection is not the same as it would be in person. So it makes it much harder to work psychically. It makes it much harder to do psychic exercises online. But there is a benefit there because it makes mediumship easier as well because you're much less likely to go psychically into the energy of your sitter, which can happen when we're working in person. So in general, there's less connection with the tutor or with the other students in an online environment as there would be if you were all together in person. Also, the online teaching environment is not as flexible for the tutor with the types of exercises you can do. For example, there's some exercises I can do in person that involve all of the students working sequentially with each other, but that's just not feasible in an online environment. So there's less flexibility, there's fewer ways of working online. And online teaching can also be an issue if the tutor is not tech savvy or if the tutor is not so good at devising exercises which work so well in that online environment. So let's look at the pros of online teaching. The biggest benefit of online teaching is it makes teaching accessible to everybody. There are no geographical limits or restrictions. You can go anywhere in the world with teaching, provided they're on your time zone. You don't have to fly, you don't have to travel, you can just do it from the comfort of your own home. So it's ideal for those people who have nothing locally, who don't have circles, classes, courses locally. You can go online and do as many courses as you wish. So you can access tutors and centres worldwide. There's more choice than ever before. There's so many free and affordable classes now online. And the other benefit of online teaching is it can be taught to the same standard as in-person teaching. So having said all those pros, what are some of the cons of online teaching? So online teaching is not as flexible as in-person teaching. As tutors, we can't do quite as many exercises as we'd like. As I said, there's less connection with the tutor, less connection with the other students than you would get if you were there in person. It's not so easy for you to chat with the other students as it is if you're attending a class and you have your breaks. So for that reason, it can sometimes feel a little bit distanced when you're doing it online. Remember, there's less power for mediumship. It can make it harder for beginners. There's less of a psychic connection. It's harder to work psychically. So the quality of teaching as well depends upon the tutor's knowledge and their ability to use the technology to deliver high quality teaching. And also, online teaching may not be good for you personally if you struggle with technology. If you're not very good with using a phone, an iPad or a computer, then it may be a struggle for you to do online teaching. So in summary, can you develop your mediumship online? Absolutely. Online teaching is highly beneficial. Online teaching makes mediumship training so much more accessible. You have access to so many more centres, access to so many more tutors, and it can be taught to the same standards. So online teaching is ideal if you cannot find teaching locally. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do hit the like button, do leave me a comment and let me know. If you like my teaching, do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified of other videos. So I hope you found the video helpful. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.